Ladies and gentlemen, I just finished watching this week's episode of Fear the Walking Dead, Season 8, Episode 9, titled Sanctuary. And I gotta tell ya, before going into this episode, I wasn't really that excited for it, but as the build-up came, I got a little more excited just to see the Sanctuary was back in the show in some way, shape, or form. And I gotta say, I always liked Dwight, I always liked Sherry, and that storyline, even in Fear the Walking Dead, which is an abysmal show, as we know. So I had mixed emotions going in. It looked boring in the grand scheme of episodes that we had coming up for Fear the Walking Dead, even though all of them suck. But in the same vein, I kind of wanted to see what they would do with this. I figured personally that it would be the end of Dwight and maybe even Sherry on the show. Not that they would die or anything, but I thought maybe that this was the end that we'd see for them. I mean, there's only 3 more episodes of the show left. I thought what they were going to do was send them to the Sanctuary, send them back home, and tie it back into where they go to Alexandria or the Commonwealth or something like that. I was hoping we'd get something like that, but no.
No way. What is this garbage?
We got an episode that was very, I don't know, like, I don't want to call it terrible, because there was a lot here that I actually liked, and look, I will give Fear the Walking Dead credit when it's due, even though I've shit on it constantly. I'll give credit where credit's due. There was elements to this episode I actually really enjoyed, but there was also elements of this episode that were just so painfully stupid that it's like, it's the same as all of the episodes of these shows. Like, there is no opportunity, at least in season 8 and season 7 of Fear the Walking Dead, to be like, oh, we just had a purely good episode. Like, there's no opportunity for that. I wish I could come out of this episode saying that was the case. Like, in truth, I really do. I'm getting sick of going on these rants every episode. I'm being completely honest. I'm getting sick of it. But in the same vein, like, I gotta give credit where it's due, you know what I mean? This episode was good in certain moments, but it's just, it's like, it's falling into the same trap that all the others are. There's just so many negatives in there that just bring it down, and I'm reinforcing this. I already said it. Just overall, we had a good A-plot to this story. Dwight going back to the Sanctuary, Dwight going to find some sort of redemption or whatever, him even calling out to Daryl and things like that. That was all amazing. It was great. And if the story solely was focused on that, I would have loved it so much more. But we got this horrible, oh my God, like, terrible side plot with Dove and June. And even though I love June, like, June is actually a very intriguing character to me. And as a matter of fact, like I said, Dwight, Sherry, and June are all very intriguing characters in The Walking Dead, in Fear the Walking Dead, I should say, especially in the later halves of Fear the Walking Dead. Because you gotta remember, all 3 of those characters came into the show after it went on a significant decline. And I gotta say, if you want to watch my video discussing me talk about the downfall of Fear the Walking Dead, I'm gonna link that here because it goes into that whole thing, but that's beside the point. The point I'm trying to make is the 3 of those characters are amazing, and I love seeing June, especially seeing June go to places like the Sanctuary, the infirmary at the Sanctuary. It's like a dream come true, seeing characters that we love from another universe, or I mean another part of the universe, come into the main canon thing. It's awesome, but it was just saturated and ruined by this terrible fucking plot with Odessa or Dove or whatever you call her. It's just like, it's so dumb. The whole thing with Odessa getting shot, wanting to take the bullet out herself because June, who's a nurse, wouldn't do it for the most immature, childish reasons ever, when she sees a kid who was shot and she knows how to do the procedure, just be like, Dwight, you have no experience doing this. Why don't you do it? Like, what? Why are we getting this? Why did we even have to do that? Why was Dove there in the first place? And if anything, I thought maybe they would do it to, like, kill her or something. But no! She didn't even fucking die! It doesn't make sense! Why would they have this story? I don't get it. Like, again, if you just have the A plot of this story, fantastic episode. I would have actually given this a very high rating if it was just the A plot, minus a couple things, which we'll get into. But no, we don't. We have this just abysmal story. I'm going to get into it. I think it's probably best that I talk about somewhat going through the episode and just go through it that way. But the other thing, before I do that, the other thing that it's on my mind, I have to get it out, is the stupid villains in this episode that took over the sanctuary. Why? Why couldn't you just make it be like Troy Otto went there? Man, you have these characters. You have a good fight to show. You could bridge the gap in a really unique way, devoid all the idiocracy that is. How the fuck did Dwight get banked to the sanctuary?
Banked to the sanctuary.
Like, how? I don't get it. We could ignore that for the sake of interesting elements. We don't need to introduce really shitty villains into the story. They were all terrible. The acting was abysmal from all of them. We could have just done something really cool and have Troy came to the sanctuary. Now, mind you, I'm okay with it being June coming back, but again, those stupid elements with Dove, with those horrible villains, it's just like, why? There's so many ways that they could have told this story, and again, for the 5th time, giving credit where credit's due, I liked what we got for half of the story, but the other half was just so unnecessary when you already have really good elements. And then another point to that is the ending, which again, like I said, we'll get into. We're going to run through the whole episode. But you have at the end, we see Strand with the worst child actress of all time in Fear the Walking Dead of that whole thing. Her facial expressions where she's like, oh, like what the fuck was that? And why was that necessary in this episode? Oh my God. If you had deleted those elements from this episode, again, like I said, this would have been a top tier Fear the Walking Dead episode for me, but it just got held back for such stupid reasons. It's so aggravating. But guys, God, before we get into it, I just want to say, I've been taking a look at my analytics as of late, and I see that a large percentage of you, I'm going to put that number up, I'll put it up over here, a large percentage of you who watch these videos aren't subscribed. That's fine, that's cool and dandy, but if you want to get more up-to-date stuff from my videos, you might as well click that subscribe button. It'll be worth your while. I go on rants sometimes, but I also give credit where credit's due sometimes. I'm good like that. Whatever. Anyway, that's just something for your consideration. If you want to subscribe. If you don't, fuck off.
Fuck off.
We're going to jump into the video anyway. We're going to jump into the whole synopsis here. So the episode starts with what I think is one of the cheesiest ways to introduce an episode, a lightning strike. And we see Dwight through the lightning strike. Whoa! Sick! What the fuck? It was so odd. And then we pan up, and the rest I did enjoy. We get him going back to his house. We get him looking through his photos. We get him just chilling back in his home. And it's great to see. It was nice to see that connective tissue. As some of you know, I'm a big fan of that. But when we have a little bit of that, of course, we hear like someone opening a door or someone coughing or something. And there's a dude chilling in Dwight's house. Now, I totally get why he's there. He's a survivor. He stumbled upon a home. Whatever. Sure. There's nothing wrong with that. But then the dialogue there between the two of these guys is just so cheesy. And might I add that it's not the fault of Austin Emilio. Austin Emilio is a fantastic actor. And I think genuinely that he proved himself really well in this episode. I love Dwight as a character, but even more than that, I love Austin Emilio. He is so good at his job. He's such a good actor. Every line he was given, even if the writing was terrible in this episode, every line he was given, he delivers so authentically. It's done so well. And that's, again, where I would give credit to say if it was just this section. And if it was just Dwight and maybe Sherry that we got in this episode, this would be a 9.5 maybe out of 10 for me. I'm not even kidding, because I loved Austin Emilio in this episode. He was just so good. But unfortunately for him, his acting co-partner, whatever you call it, the guy in this scene who had diabetes, was just, the dialogue was cheesy, and I don't think he did a really good job of bringing that to screen. Not that he was terrible, but you could just immediately see the difference. You got Austin Emilio, and then you got this guy. And it's funny, it's like every actor they bring on as a guest star in this show is either one, terrible, or they purposely write them so bad that they just look terrible. And it's like throwing these actors under the bus. It's one or the other. I don't know which of the two it is, but it's one of them. Either way, you could see the immediate difference between Austin Emilio and this guy. You know what I mean? But anyway, somehow they get on this really cheesy thing about, oh, my medicine for my diabetes is back at the sanctuary. And Dwight's like, nope, not going. Like, okay, I get it. He's got a lot of hard memories there and all that stuff. Sure, totally get that. But like, really, you're not going to go into somewhere because you had a bad experience? That's like the theme of this fucking episode, guys. You're not going to do something because of some, like, thing that's coming up in your head, like, about the past. Boo frickin' who? Get over it. You know what I mean? You're adults. You survived an apocalypse for what, 15, 16, even more than that years now? Like, you'd think you'd have your shit together at least enough to go somewhere like that, but no. We have these crazy moments where Dwight's like, I'm not going back in there. Are you playing a trick on me? I'm not going in there. But it's like, dude, like, okay, the whole thing was stupid, to be fair. They needed Dwight to go in to get the diabetes medicine. Like, he couldn't have done that on his own. I get he's weak. I do get it. But, like, come on, really? Like, we could do other cool stuff with that. But no, we didn't get that. Whatever, that's fine. But then we have Dwight go in, and we see a really cool sequence, a really cool series of events where Dwight has a moment where he sees, like, old Negan's ways or whatever, I don't know, and he throws the dude in the furnace who catches him for taking the insulin back. Pretty interesting. It was great to see. And I've been very critical. I will say, I've been very critical of this show doing the flashbacks. I really have. But this is an example where they actually worked, because it's not like you're flashing back to periods of the show that we all know. You're flashing back to The Walking Dead. And that's awesome. In a show like Fear the Walking Dead, having that is great. Like, we got a flashback of Daryl in this episode, and we're going to get into that in a minute, but we got a flashback of Daryl. That's awesome. I have to say, like, seeing him show up in Fear, awesome. It was great. Even when Rick and Carol showed up in Fear, I love that. It really makes this show that is otherwise, in my opinion, terrible, feel good in certain ways. And I loved seeing that. But again, too much is too much. When you're doing flashbacks in every episode to things we obviously know, then that's stupid. But I'll give this one a pass because it makes sense. Maybe there's people out there who haven't seen The Walking Dead, so they don't know these characters. I doubt there's anyone like that, but either way, it's still nice to see that for us as fans to remember certain things that have happened, because it took me a bit to understand some of that, you know, because it's been a while since I've seen certain episodes where things happen to Dwight like that. So I'll give credit where it's due, but whatever. After that whole thing ensues, Dwight goes back into the sanctuary and he gets in a fight with those horrible villains. And mind you, the guy he killed, his acting was terrible. He's like, where'd you get in? Give me your stuff. Like, I forget exactly what it was, but it was terrible. It really was. It was terrible. Anyway, regardless, he goes back to his house to bring the insulin to the guy. And of course, the guy died. Conveniently, of course, the guy fucking died. Like, bullshit, get real. You know what I mean? Whatever, the guy's dead in the span of time he comes back, and I get it, he was weak on insulin, but another convenient plot point. Anyway, in that whole chaos, I forgot to mention, Dwight got shot trying to get the insulin, so he's kind of like bleeding out his arm, nothing crazy, but he has a really cool little monologue where he's like, Daryl, you should have killed me, like, I wish you killed me, blah, 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 all that stuff, and it was great, because we got to see flashbacks and even hear Daryl in the episode. It's just cool to see that. It really is. It just genuinely is. But of course, in the nick of time, as he's bleeding profusely out his arm and in an area unknown to the rest of this whole story because it makes no sense, Sherry just pops up with Dove and June. Like, oh my God, like, how did you know he was there? Really? Okay, and yeah, I get it. Sherry explained, oh, I knew you'd be here. Come on. Like, oh, God. How far did you travel for him? Where were you guys? Like, I just don't get it. And I know they have to wrap this show up in a shorter run, so I get it. They have to rush the story. I do. I genuinely understand that. So there's that side of me from a production point where it's like, look, you have to cut corners somewhere. I do. But you could also tell the story differently. You don't need to do it this way. It's just so convenient, and it just breaks the immersion of a story. It really does. When you have people just popping up everywhere, it's like, where are you? What is this plot? It doesn't make sense. Whatever. Anyway, they come back into the story. Sherry is doing the stitches on Dwight, which, again, I know June lost a finger. I get that. I do. But of course she's making Sherry, who has no experience patching someone up, do the patching of someone because of your own fucking immaturities. It's like, what? It's whatever. So that happens. And the whole thing is like, Dwight, we need you back. We need you to fight for Padre because Troy Otto's here. And I like that Dwight is like, well, it's Madison's fight. But wait, I'm a little confused. Does Dwight even know Madison? Like, that's where I felt in the episode. I just didn't get it. Did he know? Does he know Madison? I'm not sure. I can't remember. Someone let me know in the comments. Did they meet before? I don't know. Let me know. But either way, I liked that dialogue. I liked that Dwight's like, no, I'm not going back. Like, look what happened with Finch. Everyone I'm around dies. Like, I don't want to be a part of any of this. And I think that's reasonable. It's totally fair. I get why he'd want that. And as a matter of fact, that's why I wanted him to go to Alexandria in this episode. But no, whatever. Anyway. So seeing all that was pretty cool. Having Dwight and Sherry back in Dwight's house, I guess both of their houses, and then the sanctuary, that was all cool. It genuinely was. But of course, that all ends where Dwight has like, I'm not going back with you guys. Let's all go to bed, blah, blah, blah. Well, anyway, they wake up the next morning to find their truck is gone, as if they didn't hear it leaving overnight, only to find that Dove is missing. And when they try to reach her on the radio, she doesn't answer. And then she eventually does by stumbling back, and she's shot and whatever. And it's like, oh my God, what the fuck? When you find out why she left to like, because she was sick of Padre or something like that, it's like, what are you doing? June, Dwight, Sherry, how did you not hear that truck leaving last night? What? Like, it's just, oh my God, another convenient thing for the sake of what? Why was this in the story? Why is this in this episode? It's so unnecessary. And it turns out that Dove got shot by the guys, the terrible, stupid people who took over the sanctuary. She got shot by them. And of course, they're all there. So Sherry starts something by starting a whole standoff with them and shooting them when clearly they're a little outnumbered. These guys have machine guns and are chilling in the woods where you can't see them. But no, Sherry, with one handgun and only 3 other people as backup, decides to start shooting. Like, what? It's stupid. But anyway, they ultimately decide, hey, the sanctuary is 20 minutes from where I'm at right now, but these people on foot, it's going to take them an hour to get there. Let's go. Let's bring Dove there. We'll perform a surgery on her to get the bullet out because they discovered that the bullet doesn't have an exit wound. So they go there to try to bite themselves some time. And of course, in going back, that's where the whole thing just goes off the rails. And this video is running long, so I'm going to wrap this up a little bit, but like, in the end of the day, the episode, they get to the sanctuary, and the whole thing is like, do you guys even care about Dove? This girl is bleeding out, like literally, and no one's doing anything about it. You have June, who is a fucking nurse, who is not doing a single thing about this whole thing, because what, her daughter died? What? You fucking save people. And yeah, you hurt some people with radiation, but you are a nurse. This is what you do. This is what you've done forever. Like, what? Why? Why have this plot? And then you just make Dwight and Sherry do it. And of course, righteously so, Dove is like, no, you're not touching me. You're not touching me. Like, blah, blah, blah. Of course, it makes sense. As much as I hate Dove, it makes sense. I agree with her there. Why? Why? Like, June could easily do this. And then, oh, God. Actually, we'll get to that in a minute. No, we'll get to it now. The building. An old building, mind you, I get it, it's old. But the building starts shaking and rumbling worse than a fucking magnitude 7 earthquake. Over 20 walkers hitting the building? What? What the fuck? Like, it's crazy. It makes no sense. This is like a skyscraper in terms of Virginia. How is that building shaking profusely over 20 walkers hitting the door? What? I get it. Again, this building hasn't been maintained in years, but that doesn't mean it's going to be that volatile that it's shaking profusely over 20 walkers. What? Like, I have no words. It's so stupid. But that gives Dwight and Sherry an excuse to go hash out their bullshit and do nothing to save Odessa. Nothing. Like, at all. They clearly don't give two shits about this girl. And honestly, we don't either. I don't give it. I hope you don't like this girl. This girl sucks. I don't even know why they wrote this character. Like, this character should go just fuck off in a hole. Seriously. Like, whatever. Anyway, it's just so funny because they clearly made no effort to save this girl despite saying, oh, we're going to lure the walkers away. No, you're just hashing out your bullshit. You Sherry locked Dwight in his old room. Like, when the whole goal is to save the kid, you lock Dwight in the room, and then Sherry goes out and saves the walkers, whatever. Sure, fine. But then when they both get outside, they're hashing out all their bullshit, and Sherry, mind you, all the walkers hit this fence that topple over Sherry, and she slams and hits her head, and we visually saw that. Like, in real life, that would either kill you or knock you the fuck out. You know what I mean? Like, that would do some damage. But no, it's Fear the Walking Dead. We had to see that, and it has no ramifications whatsoever. Anyway, okay, we see all Dwight and Sherry, like, hashing out their bullshit outside while a girl is literally dying inside. They do nothing about it. They hash their bullshit, whatever. And then anyway, the bad guys from the sanctuary come back into the picture and they start some shit. They get in a fight. And of course, Dwight gets the upper hand and kills him with the walker. But I will say, there was a really funny moment in that where the leader of the bad guys is like, I think I'm going to enjoy this more than him. And I was like, dude, are you about to fuck him? Like, what is happening here? He was like in his face, like, yeah. Like, I was like, what is happening? Like, it was so weird. But anyway, that's how the episode essentially ends. All the walkers come through. The building is crumbling. So they go into the furnace to do the surgery on Dove, who just magically survives after hours and hours and hours of trying to do this. And meanwhile, along the way, I forgot to mention, she tries to pull the bullet out herself and then has the worst acting cry ever, saying like that she hates everyone. It's just like, get real. Like, get real.
Get real.
You know what I mean? It's just so, it's so stupid. But anyway, the episode essentially ends where they have this big epiphany. It's like, we had to be here to discover this and blah, blah, blah. And this is a fairy tale. And like what the fuck? Anyway, at the very end of it, they come to the discovery that they're all family, even though Dwight and Sherry clearly give no shits about Odessa, like no shits whatsoever. They're like, yeah, we'll call you family. No, you did everything in your power not to save that girl, and now she's family? Get real.
Get real.
Like, get real. Oh my God. I've been saying so many drinking out of cups references in this video. If I don't clip them in, I don't know what I'm going to do. This is seriously like, no way. No way.
No way.
It's just crazy. Whatever. Guys, that's the episode. It was, again, this was a wasted potential episode. The A-plot was great, or it had, at least had potential to be fantastic. But no, we just had so many stupid things happen that it's just like, it really is disappointing. It really genuinely is. But that's Fear the Walking Dead, guys. Can't tell you the last time we've had a good episode, and that's truly unfortunate. But let me know what you guys thought about the episode down in the comments. I would love to start a healthy conversation down there. By the way, if you haven't checked out my Patreon, the link is in the description. No obligations whatsoever, but I put a lot of work into these videos. Any support would go a long way. And with all that out of the way, thanks again so much for watching this video. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.
Bye. Have a beautiful time.